don't let anybody tell you that it is hard to make a bolognese. You know, the sauce you eat with spaghetti. Don't let anybody tell you that it is hard to cook it. You know, there's especially the Italian food scene is full of snobs and cunts, and there's enough people on the internet, and even worse in person, especially usually by people who are something like a quarter Italian or half Italian, that there is something like a di bolognese or di carbonara. You know, I think with the carbonara it's a bit different. No, it isn't. You know, what do you think? That in Italy everybody cooks the same thing? No, that's not how it is. Every family, every region, you know, every neighborhood or whatever has its own recipe, family recipe, and it's different. But there are guidelines. Cheers, by the way. There are guidelines of how to make a good spaghetti bolognese. And the most important thing, and I don't think that's said enough. Hello? Anyway, I don't think it is said enough that the most important part of a bolognese is how you make the meat. And the meat has to be brown. It has to look delicious. It needs to look like in some food anime. If it's gray, it's not gonna be good. If it's gray, your bolognese is gonna suck. So you need to brown the meat. And the thing is, it takes time. It takes a long time to brown the meat. It takes a while until the water evaporates and the meat can caramelize. That takes a while. And it's not... People don't say it enough, you know, in the videos on YouTube, whatever. They don't say that it takes a while. And when your meat is nice and brown, then you can continue with the vegetables. You know, you take out the meat, you put in the vegetables, and then you put in whatever. You know, some like to add some more tomatoes. Maybe let me clarify. Maybe let's say there is the bolognese, the spaghetti bolognese, right? But, you know, in the end, it's like a ragu. It's like some meat sauce. Maybe there is, someone said that's the definition of a bolognese, you know. You do it without tomato paste, tomato sauce, whatever. You add milk and all that bullshit. In the end, you make a ragu, and in the ragu, it's important that the meat is brown. And then, you know, there's some guidelines. You add some white wine. I like to add. Today I added white wine. Apparently, that's the traditional way. I added some white wine today because it was warm, and it's spring. Summer's coming soon, and you know, white wine is a little bit lighter than the red wine. So don't let anybody tell you how to cook your bolognese. The only important thing when you cook pasta and the sauce is it good or not? Is it delicious? I don't give a damn if it's the correct recipe or not. Is it good? And if it's good, I don't mind how you did it. I don't mind if you added cream to the carbonara. I don't give a damn. So, people usually on the internet, if people tell you it's easy, it's usually hard. And if they tell you it's hard, it's usually easy. People tell you, oh yeah, it's very easy to build $1 million company. All you need to do is work all day. You know how hard it is? You know how hard it is to hustle 24/7 and build $1 million company? That's hard. Anyway, a man burned down a whole building. He burned down a whole storage full of toilet paper and worth of $500 million, and the warehouse itself was something about $150 million. I hope those numbers are correct. Don't quote me on it. And that's bad, of course, but the thing is, what does it tell us? What does it tell us that the man burned down $500 million worth of toilet paper because he felt he wasn't paid enough? That's what he said. He filmed this guy, he's not a criminal mastermind because he filmed it, posted it online. Maybe because if you burn down a warehouse, they will find you either way. And I already saw a comment saying he's the toilet paper Luigi. You remember when this Luigi guy went out and shot a CEO? So what does it tell us? It tells us that we are reaching a turning point. That especially we are reaching a turning point in America. That being greedy and the bitch, and the cunt has consequences. You can't just live your life and have a normal life while being a dick. This is what it's telling us. Governments and oligarchs can only be greedy for that long before the people... Whoa! Hey! So what I wanted to say is that heads are about to roll. Every empire has its story. Every empire has its rise and its downfall. And America is maybe somewhere there, Because, at some point, if people can live, they can survive. All their food is poison. They don't have health care. They will revolt. Currently it is series rollout season. New seasons dropped of many shows, and I'm currently watching The Boys. And The Boys on Amazon Prime is one of my few shows that I'm watching. I don't know how. There's like people, they just watch TV shows. How? All right, I'm wasting hours on YouTube, so I'm not much better. The Boys is a subversion of the superhero genre, and it is very political. It nods on current political themes, and it is very, very well written, except and that's for the people who watch the show, the fish guy, the Aquaman type person, he's written very badly. But there is this, if you don't watch The Boys, there is one reason why you should watch The Boys, and that's the and the reason is Anthony Starr. his performance as Homelander is one of the all-time great performances in the world. If you haven't seen the show, you probably have seen the memes. You know, where he's standing in the alley, looking at a phone and laughing. Or, you know, where he's lasering people down. You know, there are some memes. And the reason why there are so many memes is because his face, you know, he's like a serious type Mr. Bean. It just molds into every type of emotion there is. And his performance is just wonderful to watch. There's a lot of boring stuff sometimes, but just watching him on television and seeing this absolutely incredible performance just gives me a little bit of hope is maybe the wrong thing, but yeah, you know what, I don't think AI will ever achieve this nuance. You know, people say, well, you know, we can just program this nuance because it has probably seen and scanned all the films and all the faces. They can just write down this nuance, but it's, you know, it's not the same. The connection between brain and muscle tissue, skin, will never be the same. Will never be outperformed by an AI. The other show I'm watching is Invincible. And Invincible is coincidentally another Amazon Prime superhero version, but animated. Most shows that I watch are animated. The Boys, I think, is currently the only show I'm watching that is with real, that is not animated. And everybody is watching. Invincible is another very, very good show. And there was a quote in the last episode that this superhero type person was on another planet. And you know, he did some bad things in the past, but on this new planet where people look like bugs, they have a bug's life. And they die very quickly. So they forgave him very quickly because he said, because their lives are so short, they learn to forgive each other because their lives, you know, because otherwise you'll be just angry all the time. And he said that as a person who's nearly immortal, you know, he lives for thousands of years, but you know, our lives aren't that long. We don't live that long. We are not much different than those bugs. Or, you know, considering the scale of the universe, we are just bugs. So if you have the courage, you know, if you're a real person, a real man and a real woman, you'll learn to forgive. Because you know, you can forgive, but you don't need to forget, right? You know what I mean? So you can still I think you forgive people for, you know, doing bad stuff or being pricks, but doesn't mean you need to be their friend now, or vice versa. You know, you can forgive them, just let them live. You know, you see each other, you say hello, and whatever doesn't happen won't happen. And another show I'm waiting to see, and this is my currently one of the best animated shows, and that's Smiling Friends, and that's just for everybody with a kind of sick humor. If you have weird humor, it's something for you. You know, it's just all over the place. There's silly humor and just like absolute like fucked up humor. And for me, it's very good because I like all the funnies. Most people like one funny, you know. A lot of people, they just have one type of comedian they like. I like all the good comedians. You know, I like the silly comedians. I like the political comedians. I like the right-wing comedians, left-wing comedians. I just like Pixar funny. You know, like you could say it's kids humor, but I like that. I watched the new Pixar film Hoppers, and usually in those movies I laugh more than in any other movies because it just gets me. The absolute childish humor gets me all the time. Speaking of movies, the best movie of last year was by far One Battle After the Other. And it received all the Oscars, and it deserved all the Oscars, and it was just because it was a big movie, not just the scale, not just the production, it was the artistic scale was there. It was such a different experience watching it. That there's nothing like this movie. That, you know, if Paul Thomas Anderson, every movie you watch, you don't know what's happening. You will never know what will happen, and it's always a journey. Even though I watched the movie twice in cinema, and honestly, there's like a part at the end, like the car chase part. I don't think it was that good. It actually made me sick. I nearly got motion sickness from the scene. That was the best movie. You know, like, but it was my favorite movie. It's like you know, like if you're into sports, you know, you might say my favorite driver is Chucky Leclerc, but the best driver is Max Verstappen. There is, you know, you can't discuss this. It's just certain. It's just, we all know this is the best driver. He's the only real driver. Everybody else is a model and an ads person and the driver. He's just a driver, and he's forced to do publicity stunts, but he hates it. He only wants to drive. Everybody else wants to stand there, look nice, you know, have their little Monaco wedding and this little fluffy dachshund or whatever it is. I think it's official. Charles Leclerc is the Prince of Monaco, and I think we should call him from now on the Prince of Monaco, because he had a interesting career, but it was never a successful career, because yes, he is at Ferrari for a long time, and that, you know, he's in Formula 1 at Ferrari. So, of course, this is very successful, but just as Formula 1, he was never successful because he never won a championship. That's how Formula 1 works. You're either number one or you will be forgotten. Except him, because he will live on as the Prince of Monaco. Where was I? Right. One battle after the other. was the best movie of the year, but my favorite movie was Good Fortune. And I'm just telling everybody, yeah, watch Good Fortune. Yeah, Good Fortune. This movie is just a little gem. It's with Aziz Ansari, the Indian type beat person. We have Seth Rogen, the Jewish type beat person, and we have Keanu Reeves, who is playing an angel. And he tries to save Aziz Ansari's life, because he's a loser. He's standing in line and gets paid for it. He's just he's sleeping in the car. He's not having a good time. And for some reason, the angel decides to switch lives with Seth Rogen, who is very rich, and teach him a lesson. And the idea was that if you switch lives with a rich and a poor guy, that the poor guy that suddenly is rich, he learns that happiness doesn't come from being rich and having money. And unfortunately, all his problems are solved by money. All the problems Aziz Ansari had, because he did have obviously a financial problem, but he still had a spiritual problem. And the easier problems to solve are the financial problems. And first he was very happy that those financial problems were gone. But in the movie, it's a very clever movie. It goes on. I don't want to spoil more than that, because it is late and I have a very, very important day tomorrow. Very important. And maybe there will be big news. Big news. Or nothing. Thanks for listening. Sorry it was split up in 2 days. I lost a little bit of my flow because of that, but that's how it is sometimes. My priority is to give you an episode, and I know this episode was a bit all over the place. Next week will be chill again, I promise. And like and comment.